LaxFactor Podcast.
What is up? Very bored, maybe lonely, feeling very socially isolated lacrosse fans. You are watching another episode of the LaxFactor Lacrosse Podcast. Today we're going to do a weird thing. We're going to play trivia. We're going to play some quarantine trivia. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to ask you 3 questions about college lacrosse specifically, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of time to answer in between each one, probably give you like 10 seconds, play some music while you're waiting, and then I'm going to ramble a little bit and give you a little bit more time, a little bit of hints and tips and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not even going to go into sponsor crap today, except for go to SidelineSwap.com to get yourself used, hard to find, dope lacrosse gear. There's probably a ton of it on SidelineSwap right now because all the college kids had their seasons ended and they just want to get rid of their painful memories of the 2020 season. So go to SidelineSwap.com to get yours, and let us get into this. So very first question, who is the first 2-time winner of the Tewaaraton? Now, a lot of people don't like hearing the Tewaaraton being referenced as the Heisman of college lacrosse, but it is to a degree what it is. So who is the first 2-time winner of the Tewaaraton Award? I will leave you with a little bit of music. And I'm back, and a couple of hints for those that haven't gotten it yet. A, there's only been 2 players that have won the Tewaaraton twice. One of them won it one year, took a year off from winning it, and then won it another year. The other winner that won it twice won it back-to-back years. Another tip, the first person to do it did not share it with anybody else. The person who won 2 of them after the first person that did it, he shared it with another person the first year, and then the second year he won it by himself. Said person that was the first person to win 2 Tewaartons, he was also a 4-time Attackman of the Year, also a 4-time first-team All-American, and 2-time national champion. So the answer to the question, who is the first 2-time winner of the Tewaaraton Award? It is none other than Mikey Powell for Syracuse. Powell won it in 2002. He had a year off his junior year. He actually had some eligibility issues that junior year, didn't play in the fall, came back and played in the spring, had a really good year, was still an Attackman of the Year, but did not win the Tewaaraton, and then in 2004 won the Tewaaraton again. He was a 2-time national champion, like I said. The dude, just the greatest Attackman to ever play the game, bar none. I think Lyle is the second, in my opinion, but Mike Powell, and Lyle Thompson is the one who won it twice after Mike. Lyle shared it with Miles in 2014 and then won it alone in 2015 after Miles graduated, and Lyle played that season by himself. I think that was Lyle's senior year was Connor Field's freshman year. So answer, Mikey Powell was the first player to win the Tewaaraton twice. Oddly enough, I believe he was also the second player to win the Tewaaraton because the award itself was new around the time he came out. So that is your answer, Mikey Powell. Next question. How many national championships has Denver head coach Bill Tierney won over his career? So Tierney has been coaching a really, really long time, and he was a huge legendary coach at Princeton. Had he retired from Princeton and never coached again, the guy was a Hall of Famer. He may have actually gotten inducted into the Hall of Fame while he was still coaching at Princeton. I know there's a lot of coaches that I believe are in the Hall of Fame already and are still coaching. I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. But the question, how many national championships has Denver head coach Bill Tierney won? You can put your answers in the comments. Obviously, don't cheat, because if you cheat, you're a loser. But I will leave you with some music while you think on this. How many national championships has Denver head coach Bill Tierney won over his career? And I'm back. So Tierney has a ridiculous resume. So you're thinking on right now, how many national championships has he won over the course of his career? I'll give you some other stats here. He has been in 9 NCAA finals. He's appeared in the finals 9 times as a head coach, 15 championship weekend appearances, 23 quarterfinal appearances, 14 Ivy League championships while with Princeton, 2 ECAC championships, 2 Big East championships, 3 ECAC regular season titles, and 6 Big East regular season titles. He's compiled a career record of 238 and 86 while at Princeton, and after going to Denver, 404 wins to 134 losses for a 75.1% winning percentage over his entire collegiate career as a coach. So that's not just Princeton and Denver. I think 404 includes some other schools as well. So the answer to the question, how many national championships has Denver head coach Bill Tierney won? 7. He has won 7 national championships. He won 6 of them with Princeton in 92, 94, 96, 97, 98, and 01. And he's won 1 with Denver in 2015. And for those of you who are younger, who only know Bill Tierney as the coach of Denver, because he's been there for quite a while now, he is a legend. I remember he was the Big Cat coach when I was in high school playing, and I was a Syracuse fan, so I was always watching Syracuse and Denver do battle through those years. And when Denver wasn't winning the national championship in those years, Syracuse was often the team that was winning the national championship through those seasons, or Hopkins. So Tierney changed the face of the sport of lacrosse. Lacrosse was pretty much known as the fastest sport on 2 feet, fastest game on 2 feet. People were running up and down the field scoring goals. Defense was largely isolation defense, kind of like you'd see in the NBA. You had a little bit of help, but slides typically only went maybe one deep, maybe 2 deep. The defensive scheming of lacrosse was still limited. Enter Tierney in his Princeton days, and the team defense philosophy, we're going to be so good at this defense thing. We're going to slide 2 deep, 3 deep. Sometimes we're going to get 4 deep. The ability to use that defensive philosophy to slow the game down offensively. So they would slow the other team down defensively by just playing really good defense and taking them out of their flow. And then offensively, they would stall the ball out and be ridiculously deliberate. A lot of the way you see Syracuse lacrosse play today with the super efficient offense that takes care of the ball is how Princeton used to play back in the day. They took care of the ball. They played smart. They played tough, and they took care of they held possession. So scores would go from 15 to 14, 12 to 13, things like that, down to 6 to 5. Princeton and Bill Tierney, in my mind, and a lot of coaches, old school coaches like me and players like me, in a lot of our minds, Tierney revolutionized the game. He revolutionized the game on the defensive side of the ball, more importantly, but it wasn't limited to there. Offensively, their ability to take advantage of matchups, to get the proper substitutions on the field, and then just really take that possession for everything it was worth. They revolutionized the sport, Tierney did, back in those days. I digress. Let us move on to my final question of this episode. And this is going to be kind of a short episode just because we're just trying to figure out what we're doing here. I'm a news guy. I like talking about lacrosse, and right now there's no lacrosse. So we're talking about old lacrosse. So who led the country in points per game over the course of the 2018 season? Who led the country in points per game in 2018? That's the spring of 2018. And there's a lot of guys that you're going to think about here. Let's see what happened in 2018. I will say Yale won the national championship in 2018. We'll say, I don't want to give too much away. So actually, let's ask the question one more time, and we'll get you right to the music. Who led the country in points per game in 2018? Cue the music. I'm going to give here, and I'm not going to ramble a lot because it'll end up giving it away, is the player who led the country in points per game in 2018 was a sophomore at the time. Ben Reeves was the Tewaaraton winner that year. He came in second with 5.75 points per game, and this player led the country in points per game with 83 points, 27 goals, 56 helpers, and 83 points in total. And I'm not honestly sure off hip if that was the lead in overall points that season or if that was just the lead in points per game. But either way, that was the question. Who led the country in points per game in 2018? And the answer, Michael Sowers. Michael Sowers was a sophomore at the time, and he led the country in average points per game with 6.38 points. I believe it was spread out over 14 games. I can't remember offhand, but it was 6.38 points per game. He came right burst onto the scene as a freshman. 2017, 41 and 41 even for 82 points. In 18, 27 and 56. So he's a known quantity, gets a lot of double teams, gets a lot of attention, still just has to murk it by putting up more assists than helpers or than goals. 83 points in 2019, 37 goals, 53 assists for 90 points. Consistent production through his career. And that was eclipsed in 2019 by Grant Ament and Mac O'Keefe both going off like crazy. And then Pat Spencer going off. We had four guys or five guys over 100 points that year. So he kind of got eclipsed that year, even though he was still probably the best player in the country. Spencer was in 2018. And then in 2020, 16 goals, 31 assists so far in just 5 games. 5 games, the kid had 47 points, on pace to score somewhere in the area of 126 to 135 points in 2020. And the good news about Sowers is he has announced that he does plan on withdrawing from the spring semester at Princeton this spring, meaning he's not going to graduate this spring. He's going to pull himself out before the end of the semester, which means he didn't go to school. He's not going to attend Princeton in the fall, and then he will attend Princeton next spring so that he can play lacrosse again. That is sadly what you have to do in the Ivy League to guarantee a red shirt. It's what Rob Pennell did in Cornell with he had a season with an injury, and you can't redshirt in the Ivy League, so he had to withdraw from school as well. So apparently Mike Sowers is coming back.